Well, hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WVAP. I am your host, James Parker. Geez, I hope the professionals can get to the bottom of the mystery on what the motivation was for the Austin shooting. Yeah, the guy in the Allah sweatshirt with the Iranian flag shirt under that. On the day we struck Iran, with Iranian flags in his apartment, with printouts of Iranian leaders in his apartment, has a Quran in the passenger seat. But the news, they just can't get to the bottom of this mystery. We don't know it. We may never know his motivation. Good Lord. Like, if he was wearing an Alabama shirt and screaming Roll Tide while he was shooting people, we would look into Alabama, wouldn't we? We'd be like, what's going on? Did they need to bring Nick Saban back or something? What's gotten into these people? But I love this pretending to not know things that are obvious to anybody with 5 seconds of critical thinking input into this story. Just, well, I don't know what it could be. I don't know. We're working on it. I mean, the cops are working around the clock. We got us working in shifts. But so the Austin terror attack is also kind of expanded and filled out a little bit more because we have footage now. It's body cam footage. There's some surveillance footage. I have a couple of clips from the 911 calls. So before I beat up the media again, let's play the new stuff that came out just since I was on this morning. I was on from 9 to 11 this morning. This is stuff that came out between the shows. So I didn't even get to eat lunch. Me and Train have been shotgunning Red Bulls in the hallway trying to keep up with all this stuff. First couple of the 911 calls. These are so tough.
Hello, this is Austin 911. There's been a shooting at Coopers on 6th Street. There are people dead over here. There have been multiple people shot. We need help right now.
There are people dead over here. I'm glad I've never had to make that call. I'm glad my kids have never had to make that call. I hope they don't. There are people dead over here. What did you do Saturday night? Were you doing triage for your dead friends? Just calling it in? Here's another short clip. And I'm sorry I made these clips so short. Number one, the audio's terrible. Number two, I don't want to play any of the parts where they cuss. So this is the second one. And it's the same situation. This guy seems a little more calm, but how can you be?
Hi, Buford on 6th Street, there was gunfire. The cops are here, but everybody...
Is anybody with you?
Yeah, nobody shot within me, but I heard like 6 gunshots from inside. Everybody ducked down on the bottom floor.
Can you even understand that? I can barely understand it, and I pulled it, and I'm listening to it on awesome headphones right now. Yeah, he heard about 6 gunshots, and then everyone got down, and then there was 3 more on the side. The Austin Police Department had a press conference, and they had a big screen there, and they were showing you a lot of the surveillance video they had, and there was one where you can't see the picture, so let me tell you what's on the picture, on the screen there next to the lady from the Austin Police Department. It's our suspect here, allegedly. But you can see clear as day, property of Allah on his sweatshirt. So it's not that, you have to do any digging to find his motivation. It's written on his shirt. But you see this guy walking by with the AR-15 just casually about to commit mass murder. It's shocking.
You can see our suspect come into frame. He has the AR in his hand.
Okay, so now he's walking toward you, and it says property of Allah on his shirt. Now he kind of turns around and futzes around, thinks about going to the side. The idea that they don't have a motive for this, it should tick you off a little bit. Now, here's the body cam footage of one of the 2 cops that engaged and shot the suspect when he was in the middle of his shooting spree. Now, some of the bullets are coming from him. Some of the bullets are coming from the cop that's on his left. And then some of the bullets are return fire from our suspect with the, I think it's an AR-15. They keep saying that, but these people don't know guns. But you'll hear him at the very beginning of the audio clip. He puts his car in park, opens the door, walks across the street. Now, there is maybe 6 to 10 people that are coming away from the building that he's going to. They're kind of doing the duck and cover while you run, like you're getting in a helicopter and MASH. And then he syncs up with another cop who wasn't with him before. He's like, I'm on your left, or I'm on your right. I forgot what he says, but he tells the cop, hey, I'm right here. This is me. Like, I'm a good guy. Don't be startled. They engage the guy. He looks like he's about 30, maybe 40 yards away, but it's hard to tell because it's kind of a flat image. But listen to this, and thank you, cops, for not saying any cuss words. But okay, that's him getting out of the car. You hear that? You hear the door shut. You hear his keys rattle. Now he's going across the street. People are walking through him right now. He's walking through a crowd that's leaving. He sneaks up on the sidewalk. Here we go. All right, so right there, he's walking by the building, and I think that's Buford's, and there are people who are duck and covered in the bar, and they're talking to him through the window. I guess they had the windows open. And so they're saying, the guy over there with the AR-15, where is he? And they tell him, and then he syncs up with the other cop.
Down! Everybody down! 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 Where is he?
That was a lot of bullets, ladies and gentlemen. That was a lot of bullets that you just heard. And so these two cops, I think they came out of that unscratched, unscathed. But that looks like a movie scene. I mean, it's almost not believable. Because it's like in the movies when you see the cops walking through, standing straight up, telling everybody to get down. It's like, why don't you get down? If it's so dangerous, everybody else needs to get down. What are you, just Mr. Brave? You're not worried about getting shot? Apparently this guy was. Apparently this guy thought he was in an action movie. And so he's actively telling everyone else to get down for their safety while he is still up, alert, looking around, making sure that the gunman's not about to pop off again. Just super bravery right there in that video. I've never been under that level of stress, that level of life and death. I've never been under that much pressure. But wouldn't you like to think that you would rise to the occasion like these two guys did if that was you? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, I'll play you the media back and forth between how they reported on this Sunday and how they reported on it this morning, and it's going to be very disappointing. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, on your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. And they were on the story, too. They were making fun of the idea that people are confused or on the fence or don't know what the motive is in the shooting of the guy in the Property of Allah sweatshirt. I mean, you could see it in the surveillance video. Like, there was never a moment in time when you didn't know this guy's motive. There was never any doubt in anyone's mind what this guy's motive was. The first cops on the scene may not have known his motive immediately, but after they shot him and they saw, oh, you're wearing a Property of Allah shirt, boom, everyone knows. Everyone at Buford's knows. All the media people that show up, they know. But they turn around and they turn to the camera and they pretend to not know things, not only that they know, that are clearly obvious. This is so perfect, like the emperor has no clothes. And does everyone know that? Do you know what it means, the emperor has no clothes, Garrett? Do you know that that fable? Okay, so maybe I should explain this for young. I think this is just something older people know, and I realize this makes me old. But all right, so the fable is, there is an emperor who has all the luxuries in the world, and he's looking for the finest silks and cloths and clothing. And this guy comes in, and he's like, listen, I'm from a far-off land, and my people have developed this clothing that is so soft, so silky, so smooth, so comfortable to wear. The only catch is, Garrett, if you're stupid, you can't see it. The Indian version of this story is if you're born out of wedlock, if you're a bastard, you can't see it. But in Western civilization, if you're stupid, you can't see it. And he holds up empty arms. And so the emperor goes, oh my God, if I admit that I can't see that, then everyone's going to think I'm stupid. So he goes, wow, that really is pretty cloth. That's amazing. Can I try that on? And so all his little council of nobles around him are like, oh crap, I can't see it. And he can? Oh, that means he's smart and I'm stupid. In order so everyone doesn't think I'm stupid, I'm going to pretend to say something that I don't think is true, just so everyone else in the room thinks I'm one of the smart people. You understand? And so then the emperor tries it on, and the emperor's just standing there butt naked. And all his nobles are like, oh, yes, yeah, you look great. Oh, you look so good. Yeah, looks fantastic. Everybody, doesn't that look great? I've never seen cloth this fine. I have never seen clothes that's beautiful. What's your price? Oh, I'll pay anything. So he hands over all this money for nothing. And so the emperor's now so proud, and everywhere he goes, people compliment the snot out of him on these clothes. So he's like, well, if it looks this good, I'm gonna have a parade. And so the emperor parades himself through the capital with streets and giant crowds of people cheering him on and talking to each other about how beautiful his clothes are, because nobody wants to admit that they can't see it, because then they would be admitting that they're stupid. Except for there's a little 5-year-old boy who turns to his mom and goes, Mom, the emperor's not wearing any clothes. And the whole thing dissipates. But this is a total emperor has no clothes moment. They're like, I don't know what the motive can be. It's written on his shirt. Well, I don't know. It just, is that enough evidence? Well, what about the shirt under it? There's evidence too. What about all the flags at his house? So to show that just the amazing nature of this, I got to go back and we've got to play the New York Post version is what we got to do first on this one. Because the New York Post, when this came out and was first reported, they actually said all the stuff that I just mentioned. You know, the Allah shirt, the Iran shirt under it, the flags, the Quran in his car, all that. So we already know all this, and we knew it from day one. This was the New York Post on Sunday.
New disturbing details are emerging about the murderous gunman who shot up a Texas bar in a that left 2 victims dead. From the disturbed killer's motive, possibly being linked to vengeance over the U.S. attack on Iran, to revelations about the gunman's criminal past. Here's everything we know so far about Austin mass shooter Ngiaga Gianne. The 53-year-old Senegalese national, who could be seen during the rampage wearing a shirt that read Property of Allah, may have been motivated by the joint attack by Israel and the U.S. on Iran, law enforcement sources have said, as officials investigate the possible act of terrorism.
Obviously, it's still way too early in the process to determine an exact motivation, but there were indicators that on the subject and in his vehicle that indicate potential nexus to terrorism.
After Gianni was shot dead by Austin police officers, a search warrant executed at his home revealed an Iranian flag and pictures of Iranian leaders, sources with direct knowledge told CBS News. In a gruesome photo obtained by CBS News, the deceased gunman can be seen sprawled out wearing a gray undershirt emblazoned with the letters of Iran in the green, white, and red of the Islamic Republic's flag. A Quran was also found in his car, the Post previously revealed.
All right, so that's the 1 minute from the New York Post, pretty much the day of. That was their report on Sunday. Now, I played for you how the local TV station down in Austin reported on it on Sunday. They pretended to not know all that stuff.
First, confusion. Then panic. Within seconds, police taking down the suspect. In the hours since, a massive investigation into motive, an attack the FBI calls possible terrorism.
Any declarations on what led to that motive would be premature.
The FBI now interviewing friends, acquaintances, anyone who knew the alleged shooter, 53-year-old Injaga Jagnay. A criminologist says the FBI is looking for proof, maybe in writing or in a video or from someone who spoke with Jagnay, exactly what his mindset was before they say with certainty what his motive was.
Teresa, what have you learned about the weapons involved?
Cynthia, the Austin police chief says the shooter used two guns. One was a pistol, the other a rifle. She also says the shooter legally purchased those weapons in San Antonio back in 2017.
All right, so Sunday, they didn't mention anything about the Allah shirt, anything about the Iran shirt, anything about his criminal background, anything about the Quran in the car, anything about the Iranian flags at his house, anything about the Iranian leaders' pictures in his house. They did say the FBI said there possibly might be a connection to terrorism, and then they had the cut of him saying, but final judgment's premature. So they really downplayed it. Now, they have another report from this morning. It's been 4 days. Do they correct the record? What does it sound like now?
Today, Austin police are expected to release body camera video from their response to the mass shooting over the weekend. 3 people died and more than a dozen others were hurt after police say a gunman opened fire outside of Buford's Bar on the city's popular 6th Street. Officers shot and killed the suspect there. Police and the FBI are now investigating for the motive, but they have pointed to, quote, possible terrorism.
Oh, jeepers. We may never know for sure. I mean, they're pointing, so there's distance, to a, quote, possible terrorism. What kind of terrorism? Lutheran terrorism? Is that what it is? Atheist terrorism? You think if he was wearing a MAGA hat, that would have gotten a mention? Property of Allah. Doesn't even get a mention on there. You got to pretend to not know things you're knowing. He's wearing an Iranian shirt and an Allah shirt. We don't know what his motive is. Well, we're furiously interviewing his friends and his colleagues to find out where his mind was. I know where it was at. It was about the Iranian attacks. Isn't that frustrating? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Updates on the situation in Iran coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I'm just dunking on the media for their trash coverage on the Austin terror attack. The idea that they can pretend to not know the motive. Remember, they saw the motive. They saw the hidden, the evil intent of the Sydney Sweeney Blue Jean ad. But when it comes to the guy wearing property of Allah with an Iranian flag in his apartment, Iranian leaders hanging up in his wall, with a Quran in his car, and an Iranian shirt under it, we may never know. We may never know what his motive is. Now, also, remember, this is in the context of MSNBC telling you in 2024, look out, because we are entering in this new era of white rural rage. Did this meet the metric that you've been told? You've been told that domestic terrorism and right-wing extremism is something to be scared of. Was this a white supremacist, a white nationalist, a Christian nationalist, any of that? Did he buy his gun at the gun show loophole? Was he wearing a MAGA hat? What team was he on? Was he a rural guy? A good church-going Christian? Did he meet any of the metrics of what you people tell us to be scared of?
Joining us now, Professor of Political Science at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, Tom Schouler, and journalist and opinion writer Paul Waldman. Their new book, out tomorrow, is entitled White Rural Rage, The Threat to American Democracy. And Tom, we'll start with you. Why are white rural voters a threat to democracy at this point? You would think, as we pointed out, looking at Joe Biden's background and Donald Trump's, that the opposite would be true.
I mean, we lay out the fourfold interconnected threat that white rural voters pose to the country. First of all, and we show 30 polls and national studies to demonstrate this. So we provide the receipts in Chapter 6. They're the most racist, xenophobic, anti-immigrant, and anti-gay geodemographic group in the country. Second, they're the most conspiracist group. QAnon support and subscribers, election denialism, COVID denialism and scientific skepticism, Obama birtherism. Third, anti-democratic sentiments. They don't believe in an independent press, free speech. They're most likely to say the president should be able to act unilaterally without any checks from.
All right. Enough of that. Here we go. Did that meet? Since they've had that segment, has there been a white rural rage event? Has there been a drive-by by somebody on a John Deere tractor? Ever? Will in Dallas, you're on WBAP.
Well, I'm thinking your verbiage with him connected to Iran is off. I say that because Somalians are primarily Sunni, and in Iran it's like 90% Shia. But it's a weird connection to me. But it's more like Islam versus his tie to Iran. And it's weird to me that he has this Iranian stuff on, almost like it was on purpose, but not that he's truly connected to Iran. They don't have a strong bond between the two countries.
Well, they kind of do and kind of don't. I get there's a Sunni Shia split, but in this instance, it looks like he is seeing the from the point of view of this is the Muslim world against the Christian world or against Western civilization.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. So he's not specifically signing on to the brand of Islam that Iran is selling, but he is seeing them as a ally in this joint fight against Western civilization.
Right. And it's still, I hear the motive. The motive, certainly the generic motive, but it's like this man had been in America 25 years. And what now? It's like there's been issues with America and Muslim countries historically. So why now? What makes this guy flip now and say, you know what? This is the last straw, America. That's the weird part. And then that he's Sunni and they're Shia. They have wars against one another.
Well, I think the difference is in all of the other previous bombings we've done on Iran, we didn't go bomb the Ayatollah, and then we didn't go bomb the 40 people that are the succession under him. You know, we didn't just go out and straight up bomb Saddam Hussein and kill him either. We captured him. We put him on trial. He was hung by his own people later, so we technically didn't even kill him. So, yeah, this was a straw that broke the camel's back. And you're making good points there, Will. Does it bother you that the media is not even bringing this stuff up or not even saying, well, there's a possible, air quote, connection, nexus to Islam?
I'm bothered by the media most of the time. That's it. I have a hard time believing or listening to. It's just and I don't care if I'm listening to Fox, CNN. Well, I typically don't. I'm an AM radio guy, so.
Well, we are glad to have you. I like hearing that. I need as many radio guys as we can. Thank you. This is Will in Dallas. Appreciate your call, sir.
Thanks.
All right, coming up next on the James Show, Chris Putnam from the Dallas Express. We got a lot to talk about here because, he covers Texas media pretty well. So we're going to talk about the Austin shooting. We're going to talk about the gunman that showed up at the Ken Paxton watch party that both he and I were at on Tuesday. And the Tallarico Crockett fight, the Dallas City Hall fight. We got a lot to talk to Chris Putnam about from the Dallas Express. Coming up next on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. An election night campaign party shouldn't be this much excitement. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. To give you a taste of what I'm talking about, my buddy Chris Putnam from Dallas Express coming back on. And Chris, you were saying that this is way too much excitement for a normal election night watch party. Let's start with the story of the gunman that showed up. Well, you hang on. You know, you're too late. You're too late. It's at the Marriott, about a mile from where we're at. It's probably about 7 in the afternoon or 7 in the evening, or I don't know what's. Yeah, because I didn't get out there till like right after they took him away. Yeah, so it's at the Marriott. And he has a couple of ballrooms rented. The Attorney General Ken Paxton, who's obviously run for Senate now, and so they have a setup there where all the media comes and all the VIPs come and all the supporters come to watch the results come in. And now you start talking about the gunman. Go. Well, did you hear the media excuse it, saying, no, he was just there delivering mayonnaise? What? Just because a guy is covered in a thermal face mask and a heavy hat and big, thick gloves, camo head to toe, to deliver mayonnaise when it's 80 degrees outside, that's not suspicious at all. And they just bought some sort of excuse. I think they just read this online or something, because I haven't seen the evidence that he was there to deliver mayonnaise. Did you hear that explanation? Yeah, definitely. But there was no harm, no foul. Now, when we got there, I was surprised at how many media cameras were there. It seemed like all the big networks were there. They had a big platform set up in the back of one of the ballrooms that was opposite the stage with the podium and the big backdrop that says Paxson. And I mean, that was like everybody: MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, some other people I didn't know. Sky News was there. Tommy Robinson was there. Are yeah, so are these election parties, this is not the normal turnout, I'm guessing. All right, so it was a pretty fun party. Thanks for getting me in and whatnot, but let's not have that much excitement next time. Let's have fewer gunmen at the next election party. Can we do that? I'm aiming for 0 is my preferred number of gunmen at my parties. Yeah, security was pretty good there. All right, let's talk about this Austin terror attack. This happens in our backyard. You are in the media, and you are one of the outlets that will actually admit that this guy was wearing an Allah shirt, an Iran undershirt, had a Quran in his car, had flags in his apartment, and was quite obviously motivated by Muslim terrorism. What does it feel like to turn on these other platforms and have them act like they don't even know that exists? All right, let's move our attention to the Dallas City Hall situation. This is getting interesting because one of our mutual friends, Dallas and Fuego, the guy that's on the opposite end of the political spectrum from him in City Hall is Adam Basil-Dua, and they made a video that Fuego put out earlier this week where they're both criticizing this plan to destroy City Hall and build something else there. And if you have those two guys agreeing on something, that says a lot. Jeepers, look at all these repairs. Yeah. What? That was the high end. Yeah. All right, hang on. Let me hit pause on this because they're moving forward with this, but we're going to talk about what's on the other side of this. Why are they doing this whole grift and why are they being this dishonest? We'll continue with Chris Putnam from the Dallas Express next. The Guess Who tour is coming to Dickies Arena August 9th. Special guest Don Felder. Tickets and information at livenation.com, or if you want to win tickets from us, text the word WHO to 800-288-9227. Who? The word WHO. 800-288-9227 for your chance to win a pair of tickets from us. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. We are continuing with my guest. It's Chris Putnam from the Dallas Express. Now, incumbents took a beating in the primaries. There was a lot of big-name incumbents that lost, and it's weird for an incumbent, especially to lose in their own primary. What's going on with that, Chris? Well, he deserves it. How come we didn't see a serious challenge to Governor Greg Abbott? Most Republicans I know gripe about this guy, yet he just skated through. Mm-hmm. Well, talk about the weird situation we're in now. We're sort of in a Trump limbo where he says he's going to make an endorsement in that race, and he strongly encourages the other guy to drop out so we don't have an internal firing squad. What's going on with that, Chris? Is he trying to like extract something in return for an endorsement? Why not just say who you like now? Sure. So let's talk about the weird situation on the other side of the aisle. Tallarico beat Crockett. I was surprised. I thought her raging popularity and media attention could overwhelm that, because I feel like Tallarico was what the establishment wanted, what the Democrat Party wanted, capital D. Not necessarily Democrat voters in my orbit, but are you surprised he won? Yeah, so I guess not. All right. See, but that was such a scam. Yeah. Trump shut down my interview. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Oh, no kidding. Probably. All right, real quick. I only have 1 minute left. This Tony Gonzalez situation, the Republican congressman is in a runoff in his district in South Texas. He's the guy that had an affair with the staffer. She ended up setting herself on fire. But he did an interview with Joe Pags last night, which you would have heard on WBAP if you were listening. But he says the time between when they split up, when they cut off all contact, she didn't work with him anymore, they broke off the affair, was June of 2024. She didn't kill herself until September of 2025. So are these things even related? Because it's certainly been reported like that it was a cause and effect. Nor should they. Well, yeah, but also if he drops out, he's kind of admitting guilt, and there's some like real crimes there with the there's now an ethics hearing or something. Chris Putnam, Dallas Express, thank you very much for your insight, sir. Check him out at dallasexpress.com. Coming up next, Darren Gobb, former Black Hawk helicopter pilot, is going to give his veterans take on the war in Iran. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, things are still blowing up in Iran. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. And I'm not saying that to be flippant. I've just checked my news feed here on the break. Some fresh videos because it's already nighttime in Tehran and they're getting some mushroom clouds courtesy of the American taxpayer. My next guest, a returning guest, Darren Gobb, former Black Hawk helicopter pilot. So, Darren, what's so funny about that? Darren, we like 100. It's a big studio, Darren. They're big fans. Well, I can't control these people. They're monsters. Darren, so when we see that things are still blowing up in Iran, I had made the joke at the beginning of the week that eventually we're going to run out of things to blow up. Now, I don't mean we're going to blow up everything in the country of Iran, but as far as, strategic important military targets and things that would degrade their capabilities, I think there is a finite number of those. And is that what we're doing? We're just going to keep bombing and bombing and bombing until what? The regime voluntarily changes? Well, Darren, at this point, air superiority and be able to fly around with impunity. Do you think they have any air defenses left whatsoever? Well, is Iran are they scrambling fighter jets and dogfighting with us up there, and we're not just hearing about it? Did we completely take out their air force, or do they still have planes, but we've knocked out their airstrips? I mean, how degraded are they? You called it a yak? So my knowledge of Soviet aircraft stems from the Top Gun and Iron Eagle. So I don't know what you're talking about sometimes. Chappie. All right, Darren Gobb, what's the situation with their Navy? Pete Hegseth bragged about sinking one of their boats with a torpedo. I figure by now, if we really wanted to, we could have sank about all their boats. Yeah. How? Next question, Darren Gobb. How long can we keep this up? Is there a point to where we run out of Tomahawk missiles, or we got to wait for some more from the factory or to, the Amazon order to come in? All right. Iran's going to be down to slingshots by then. Darren Gobb, appreciate your expertise and helping us be updated on Iran. Thank you, sir. How do we find your work online? You're with the Freedom Network? Thank you very much, Darren Gobb. Coming up next on the James Show, you're going to get some more reaction from the media on the Iranian strikes, including Bill O'Reilly talking about how this will affect the midterms. For better or worse, it will affect the midterms. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, sports fans, James Parker here for the Prize Picks app. Whatever sports you're already watching, you can add a little bit of spice to it with Prize Picks because it's not just about football. I know I talk a lot about football. I know I talk a lot about basketball. I know there's the big college tournament coming up later in the month. But if you're into soccer, if you're into tennis, baseball fans, Call of Duty fans, MMA, sometimes women even play basketball, it's all on the Prize Picks app. They've even got the Live Golf. So download Prize Picks, use promo code WBAP, get $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. A lineup is when you make 2 to 6 players, look at their stat projections, pick more or less on one of them, and then boom, turn a little bit of money into a lot of money. You can start off with a little bit of a bonus. Download Prize Picks, use promo code WBAP, you get $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, let's get you all caught up on the Iran situation. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Pete Hegseth yesterday was talking about how Iran is just getting absolutely ripped to shreds.
This is not a mission accomplished situation. This is simply a reality check. The combination of U.S. and Israeli intelligence and combat power will control Iran, and will control it soon. Sure, Iran will still be able to shoot some missiles and still be able to launch one-way attack drones at civilian targets, and their proxies will attempt to attack our embassies, bases, and soft targets. They are terrorists, after all, and they need to target civilians because they can't fight toe-to-toe. But we will find them, and we will kill them. This is what the fake news misses. We've taken control of Iran's airspace and waterways without boots on the ground. We control their fate. But when a few drones get through or tragic things happen, it's front page news. I get it. The press only wants to make the president look bad, but try for once to report the reality. The terms of this war will be set by us at every step.
And then he goes into the historic nature of some of the attacks here. This is the first U.S. torpedo sinking since World War II.
In fact, last night, we sunk their prize ship, the Soleimani. Looks like POTUS got him twice. Their Navy, not a factor. Pick your adjective, it is no more. In fact, yesterday, in the Indian Ocean, and we'll play it on the screen there, an American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death. The first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II. Like in that war, back when we were still the War Department, we are fighting to win.
So, look, I am not a big fan of this intervention, but I'm not going to sit here and say that this is dumb or this is stupid or they're getting everything wrong or they're just lying or they're being childish or this is unconstitutional. No, I'm a non-interventionist. I'm just generally against whatever the next war is. I'm already against that. I don't even have to know what the parameters are. Basically, until an army storms an American border, I'm not too excited about fighting against things. But I always lose these arguments, and my interest is in consistency. I'll gripe about the non-constitutional aspects of Obama bombing 7 countries, Libya and Syria and Iraq, and I'll be consistent no matter who's president. However, not everyone else is as consistent. Here's Mika Brzezinski reacting to those 2 clips from Pete Hegseth I just played. And it's just so condescending, like she's above it and Pete Hegseth is below her. This is how this is how you talk to your kids when they were 7 years old and trying to tell you what to do.
That is Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, along with Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Dan Kane, giving an update on the ongoing war with Iran. Honestly, Pete Hegseth with a rather childish litany of accomplishments about a very serious issue.
Hang on, what was childish about that? Was anything childish? Was he playing SpongeBob's theme song in the background? Was he wearing big clown shoes? Was he in shorts and a tank top? What was childish about that? Was he wearing Nike Dunks? She just said it was childish. That wasn't very childish. He wasn't using funny voices. He was talking like a grown man with a straight delivery. It was serious. It was stern. It was very mature and adult. And she came away, oh, so childish. God, just rolling her eyes like a teenage girl.
War with Iran. Talking about how American forces would deliver death and destruction all day long to Iran.
Yeah.
He got into some of the details, but again, a lot of rhetoric about death and destruction and power, and no real reasoning on what the immediate threat was. He was actually asked about intelligence.
Hang on. He's the leader of the Secretary of War. Of course it's about death and destruction. He's the Secretary of War. What do you think? He's going to talk about a back massage? Is that what he's going to talk about? Is he going to talk about, he was watching Bob Ross yesterday and he painted a beautiful landscape with the mountain and some happy clouds. What do you think the damn War Department is? This was the confounding thing that just bothers me when Team Blue's in charge of the military. They're like, we've got to work on our sensitivity. We've got to give our soldiers training so they won't be offended by a guy in a dress. No, look, our soldiers don't need to be wearing lipstick. Our soldiers need to be a bunch of guys whose greatest ambition in this world is to sit on a throne made from the skulls of Chinese communists. It's not pretty. It's not sweet. It's not going to be the fashionable or gorgeous. Thank you very much. Let's go to what? Oh, Trump's speaking now. All right, we go live to Trump. Go. All right, that's Donald Trump live speaking on the Operation Epic Fury. I'll continue monitoring this on the break. If it says anything I think you'd be interested in hearing, you'll hear that next. And you'll also hear Bill O'Reilly saying this will affect the midterms. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. On your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. Three guys give you a lot of stories you won't hear anywhere else. They're on 11 to 2. All right, so continuing with the Iran coverage here, there's many interesting aspects that kind of branch off of this tree of discussion. One that I know you're going to enjoy is this little exchange here on The View. Now, this is funny because I think this just happened earlier today, and Elizabeth Hasselbeck, who used to be on The View, she used to be in the chair that was reserved for one non-liberal. She's not even that conservative. They replaced her with Anna Navarro, who is the least conservative person who calls himself a conservative possible. She just takes the left side on everything, but she's the air quotes conservative in the crew. And then there's that other one, Alyssa Griffin. Isn't that her name? Anyway, the unknown one. Bro, Elizabeth Hasselbeck is sitting next to Sunny Hostin, and Sunny Hostin is giving her the stink eye this whole time. This is the look that you got when you were breaking up with a girl and you told her it's not you, it's me. That, you know, that whole line of garbage that everyone's lying every time they say it. No, it's definitely you. You know, the girl looks at you. That's how Sunny Hostin's looking at Elizabeth Hasselbeck in this clip here about the constitutionality of the attack in Iraq.
I want to ask
Iran.
You keep calling this like an undocumented attack, that you don't agree with the war,
an illegal, unconstitutional.
So did you believe it was illegal in April of 2011 when the Office of Legal Counsel memo stated from President Obama that the president has constitutional authority to direct the use of military force in Libya because he could reasonably determine that such use of force was in the national interest prior. Congressional approval was not constitutionally required to use military force in these operations. Where were you then complaining?
I agreed. Well, I wasn't on the show then.
No, but personally, would you have stood against that?
I was at home complaining. No, I wasn't complaining because the Office of Legal Counsel was involved. And the Office of Legal Counsel...
This came after.
But the Office of Legal Counsel is the office in the Department of Justice, because I worked at the Department of Justice, that reviews these things and makes legal determinations. This president doesn't go through the Office of Legal Counsel. This president does not go to Congress. Congress has the power to to approve wars. This Congress has the power of the purse. This president is acting more like a king than anything else. He is the commander. He's the commander-in-chief, but he is not a king. And so I think that this should have gone through Congress. I think that the American embassies should have been notified so that American citizens in the Middle East would have been able to get to safety. I don't think that this was done appropriately. I maintain that this is illegal and unconstitutional.
Do you like the result? Do you like the result?
No, I don't.
Well, you would rather the regime head and those 40, 18 leaders
I think it's very easy to start a longer
conversation. Since this is going to be a longer conversation, we're going to take a break today.
Yeah. You better rescue her with the break. Saved by the bell there. In the latest on the legislation here, the Senate had voted down a bill to rein in President Trump's war powers. The House of Representatives just voted a few minutes ago to allow President Trump to continue Operation Epic Fury. There was the bipartisan resolution was led by Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna to rein this in. Congress had a chance to speak up. Congress shot down the bill to rein them in. So this is kind of a backwards approval. They didn't actually approve of the military actions, but they did vote against the legislation to stop it. So you have kind of an approval, like when your wife's like, I'm not saying you can't go out tonight. I'm just saying you might not. Anyway, also, here's a great clip. Bill O'Reilly was on the Chris Cuomo show with Stephen A. Smith yesterday. And the point isn't if Trump is going to be affected in the midterms by this. The point is, how is Trump going to be affected in the midterms like this? Because we're so close to November, and this is such a big story, and it's going to have such visible, tangible results. Things blowing up on video. People dying on video. Regime change on video. It's going to affect them. How? Depends on how well this whole Iran transition goes.
So if it goes America's way and there is a regime change and Iran becomes a civilized nation again, Trump's going to have a lot of wind at his back. If it goes south This is huge because right now the press is doing everything it can to root for Iran. The press is actually rooting for Iran. I watch ABC
When you
World
say
News.
Iran, you mean the people or the regime?
They want America to lose. So World News tonight on ABC, and I work for an ABC, so did you, did 15 minutes last night, did 8 segments, every segment negative, and I mean really negative, every segment. Not one positive word, not one word on how bad the mullahs were. David Muir. In addition to that, David Muir said the word tonight 70 times in 17 minutes. So, I mean, I'm going, what the deuce is happening? I work for Jennings, who was excellent, okay? But I didn't even watch the other 2. I just watched World News Tonight. And after watching it, I wanted to surrender. We should surrender to Iran. Watching ABC News, we lost. That's how crazy it is.
And of course, he's being sarcastic there. But yeah, judging by the coverage, whoa, we should surrender. We're just getting beat up all over the place. We have no chance to win. Just like the coverage of the Austin shooting. We may never get to the motive. To get to the bottom of this motive, police are interviewing his neighbors and his family and his friends and his coworkers to see if we could possibly determine a motive. Dude, he's wearing an all shirt. Dave Matthews Band coming to Dos Equis Pavilion on May 9th. Get tickets and information at livenation.com. And the morning show is going to be giving away tickets tomorrow. You can listen to the WBAP morning show, find out how you can win tickets from them. Coming up next, you're going to hear from Tucker Carlson on how he doesn't think the Iran war is what's best for the United States. And then you'll hear from a viral video from an awful lady who doesn't like the military very much. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, not everybody's a fan of the war in Iran. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. But let's look at the different lines of criticism when it comes to Trump's military action in Iran. Because apparently Congress doesn't want to stop it, so it's not that bad and universally hated. So maybe it has a little more political capital than the media's giving him credit for. Gee, you're really shocked about that, aren't you? But here's a criticism from Tucker Carlson. We'll do a legit, concerned, calm down, adult, mature criticism from Tucker.
Clearly, the United States is not going to benefit from staying longer in Iran. And sorry, Tom Cotton, putting troops on the ground, boots on the ground, whatever you call it, committing young American men to go die in Iran is not in our interest at all. And it would cause not simply heartbreak in the families of those killed, but it would cause potentially real turmoil here domestically.
Look, and of course he continues in his in one of his recent podcasts here, his little video show, where he gives about an 8-minute explanation on how the Ayatollahs are bad. Iran would be better off if they were under a more secular form of governance. However, he's not convinced that this is what's best for us. He's not convinced that this is going to make America stronger. We're going to do a lot of expense, and it would be very, very good for the people of Iran. He's going to degrade their military capabilities and trade out the terrible terroristic government. That would be really good for our neighbors and allies in the region, Israel, Saudi Arabia, etc. But how would this be good for us? We're going to be spending billions, if not trillions of dollars in this effort. What's our return on investment? That's a conversation worth having. I'm not saying he's right or he's wrong, but it's better than the criticism that seems to be flowing from the other side. There's just like a volcano of hate. And this is the exhausting part of, like, when at Super Bowl halftime, Bad Bunny at the very end, it was like, only love can overcome hate. You're constantly told about that. Yeah, so love is stronger than hate. We're for love, not for hate. We're not the fascists. We're the anti-fascists. No, y'all are the hateful ones. You can say that we're the hateful ones. You can say that you're the ones for love. But I see too many videos like this.
And literally, if you have any part to play...
Right. You already hate her after the first two words, right? Literally. Literally.
And literally, if you have any part to play in the American military industrial complex, literally, you. I hope you never make it home. I'm so serious.
Yeah, there's a message from the party of love. Love overcomes hate. You know, I don't mind having the debate. I don't mind when people disagree. In fact, I kind of like it. I like debating. I think it's fun if you have a worthy debate counterpoint. But if it's, F you, you're evil, you're a Nazi, that's no fun. That's not even a debate. You're not even trying to have a dialogue. So let's see how this plays out in the press conference yesterday. Carolyn Leavitt going up against Caitlin Collins, and it shouldn't be going up against. It should be Caitlin Collins is just asking normal, rational, good faith questions, but these are not good faith questions. You mind if I play you the whole 2 minutes here? Because it's an interesting back and forth, but it also just spells out we're not even trying to have a rational conversation about this through the legacy media.
You just mentioned that the president is going to attend the dignified transfer for these families. Given what Secretary Hegseth said this morning, is it the position of this administration that the press should not prominently cover the deaths of U.S. service members?
Hey, stop right there. That is a bad faith question. You understand what I mean? Like bad faith question? That is a gotcha question. First off, she is creating a straw man and asking Carolyn Leavitt to answer for a position that she doesn't even hold, or Trump doesn't even hold. In fact, I don't think anybody believes that. Does anybody believe the press shouldn't cover, the dignified returns when they bring back the flag draped coffins? Does anybody believe the press shouldn't report that at all? Because without even hearing what Trump said about it, it's probably along the lines of they're going to exaggerate, or they're going to be all over it, or they're going to exploit the deaths of our neighbors and our sons and daughters in an overseas battle to gin up political hatred against me, to help them swing public opinion for the midterms. That's what this. I don't even have to go back and listen to it. That's what it was about. But look at how it's reframed here. And there's a bad faith question. It's kind of like, are you still beating your wife question.
You just mentioned that the president is going to attend the dignified transfer for these families. Given what Secretary Hegseth said this morning, is it the position of this administration that the press should not prominently cover the deaths of U.S. service members?
No, it's the position of this administration that the press in this room and the press across the country should accurately report on the success of Operation Epic Fury and the damage it is doing to the rogue Iranian regime that has threatened the lives of every single American in this room. If the Iranian regime had their choice, they would kill every single person in this room. And so we can all be very grateful that we have an administration and that we have men and women in our armed forces who are willing to sacrifice their own lives for the rest of us in this room and for every American across the country and for every troop that is based in the Middle East. That's what these...
Secretary Hegseth was complaining that it was front page news about these 6 service members who were killed.
That's not what the secretary said, Caitlin, and that's not what the secretary meant, and you know it. You know you are being disingenuous. There is not... We've never had a Secretary of Defense who cares more.
Get through where tragic things happen. It's front page news. I get it. The press only wants to make the president look bad.
Yeah,
as you know, we cover
press
the deaths of U.S. service members under every president.
The press does only want to make the president look bad. That's a fact. Especially you. No, listen to me. Especially you and especially CNN. And the Secretary of Defense cares deeply about our war fighters and our men and women in uniform. He travels all across this country to meet with them, to connect with them, and your network has hardly ever probably reported on that.
All right, let's go to Pete Hegseth, who just stepped out at MacDill Air Force Base in Florida to talk about the Iran war. This is a live update. All right, so that's Pete Hegseth, your Secretary of War. That's live update from MacDill Air Force Base in Florida. Coming up next, State Rep Brian Harrison is going to make the case that James Tallarico, the guy who just won the primary to be the Senate candidate for the Democrats in Texas, he wouldn't be where it's at without the help of some rhinos in Austin. He'll explain next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. How do we explain the strange rise of James Tallarico? I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. Your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. 3 funny guys on from 11 to 2. Check them out if you don't love them already. My next guest coming back on, the worst guest usually, Brian Harrison, but I think I'm going to like you today because you're not giving me bad news. You're giving me some inside info. Plus, I kind of missed you. You know, leading up to election, I don't really like to talk to politicians because it triggers equal time and stuff, but we're in the clear now. So first off, congrats to you for winning your primary. Well, I am interested in talking to you today. I want to have this conversation about your posts on social media that explain James Tallarico's rise to power. Some of that credit needs to go to the Rhino community in Austin. No, he said he's non-binary. He said, go, yeah, gone. Right. Abortion. All right, we're talking with State Rep Brian Harrison. It looked like Jasmine Crockett had this race all in the bag, and then we saw the Democrat establishment, the power brokers, Stephen Colbert, everyone circled the wagons around Tallarico and put him over the top. What's the explanation for that? How come they like Tallarico so much better than Jasmine Crockett? Because she's wildly popular. She's got all kinds of free media promotion, and you thought they would want to ride that popularity, and they turned on her. Why? Oh, I'm in seminary. Yeah. Well, it seems to be working pretty good. He just won. Oh, yeah. Right. All right. Well, good to talk to you again, State Rep Brian Harrison. Again, congratulations on your win, and we can have you back on now that you don't have a runoff or anything, right? You're free. Yeah. Awesome. Well, we'll hear from you soon. Coming up next, the curious case of another Congressman, Tony Gonzalez, out of Texas. Should he resign? Should he step down? Should he continue in the race after his mistress committed suicide? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, Texas homeowners, James Parker here for Rhino Shield. And I want you to get this in your head. Paint is only for the inside of your house now. Anything that's on the outside, you want to go with Rhino Shield. And not just your house. Some people are spending a ton of money. They're spending tens of thousands of dollars to put up a beautiful fence and whatever it's made of. If it's wood, if it's stucco, if it's brick, you can coat that thing with Rhino Shield as well and save the same problems that you would have if you wasted your time with paint again. So you can come back to that nice new wall that you built around your backyard, and in 10 years, it's not going to be chipping and peeling and cracking up. It's still going to look fantastic. So whatever your project is, whether it's fixing your existing house, whether you're building a house, whether you're building a pool house, a cabana, a shed for your lawnmower, a fence, remember, everything for the outside, Rhino Shield. Paint goes on the inside. Rhino Shield goes on the outside. Go to rhinoshielddfw.com. Well, it started with an affair and ended with a self-immolation. It's the story of Congressman Tony Gonzalez. You're about to hear it on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Do you know this story yet, Tony Gonzalez? Not the quarterback, damn it, guys. That's the first thing I thought of, too. We're idiots. No, there's a congressman in a district in South Texas. It runs from sort of the southern San Antonio area all the way down to the Rio Grande. And he's been a congressman for a few terms now. And here's how the story has played out. And I haven't talked about this much because, you know, I'm a true believer in people's personal foibles are secondary to how they would vote and their policy preferences. But the story has been told that this guy had an affair with his staffer. He cut it off. And then in September, she killed herself. And she killed herself by self-immolation. She doused herself in accelerant and set herself on fire. Wow. So the way it's reported and the way I just told you there, wouldn't you come away with the impression that these two things are connected? Like she killed herself because of the Tony Gonzalez situation? Because that would make sense. You learn that it's a staffer. It's someone who worked on his staff. So I think almost everyone agrees that just because someone has an affair doesn't disqualify them from public service. If we're going to demand our public servants be perfect and we're just going to have 435 people named Jesus in there, I guess no one would pass that test. But it's also been your observation that some great politicians and some great leaders have committed adultery before, and thank God we didn't hold it against them. You know, like Ben Franklin is the most common example I like to use from the founding time. He had some sexual picadillos that would not pass the smell test or litmus test. Better word choice there. But the fact that she was a subordinate is kind of a problem. It's also kind of legally a problem. There's some house rules that say you can't have an affair with anyone on your staff. Because, look, there's an abusive sort of power dynamic there. I'm okay with that rule. But the more and more I learn about this story, again, I'm not on Tony Gonzalez's side. But it sounds like we weren't getting the straight story here. Now, the legit criticism comes from the fact that Tony Gonzalez said that he didn't have an affair. He denied the claims that he had an affair. And he just walked that back for the first time yesterday. And it was an interview he did on the Joe Pags Show, our night show. If you want to listen after Mark Levin, it's the Joe Pags Show. You might have heard this last night, but I know most of you didn't. So here he is for the first time admitting that there was an affair at all.
You know, very, very direct, Pags. I made a mistake and I had a lapse in judgment and there was a lack of faith. And I take full responsibility for those actions. Since then, I've reconciled with my wife, Angel. I've asked God to forgive me, which he has. And my faith is as strong as ever. When you make mistakes like this, you know, it's never easy. It humbles you, but it's important to kind of work through it all. You know, I look forward to the ethics committee starting an investigation. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to provide all the facts and all the details that lead to exactly what occurred in the entire situation.
A lot of people aren't buying that. It's going to be a subjective call. Let's hear a little bit more of what he has to say. Joe Pags went to the first great question he should have followed up with. He nailed it. Yeah, so you had an affair. We're not that worried about that. What about the fact that it was a subordinate?
It's an important issue. No, it's important. It's a serious issue that we have to talk about, that we have to get all the facts and all the details out there. And once again, I take responsibility for my actions. It's also important to know all the details and all the facts, and that's what the investigation is going to take place. So far, what you've seen is certain outlets only sharing certain information that is beneficial to them. And to be frank, Joe, this is Pags. This has been from day one. This has been about power and money. And you know, while others saw this kind of unfold, the opening of early voting, and you've seen that, and this has been, they've been attacking me for months on this. But yes, it is important that we have the conversation. All
right. And so then he was asked, are these texts we've seen, are they real? Now he dodges that. I'm going to start playing it and then we'll skip through it. He dodges answering that question, which is an he's implying that, yeah, those texts are real. The text, the husband of the woman who killed herself went through her phone, pulled out a bunch of texts. And here's the rest of the story on that.
I'll let the investigation play out and share all the different details on it. I will say there's a whole lot more to the story, a lot more to the story that isn't out there. And I'll give you an example. I'll give you a little bit of what's kind of on my mind.
Here, I'll skip it because he takes like 2 minutes to tell the story. He says the woman killed herself and the husband went through, got her text, got a lawyer. They contacted him. And he said he would sign a non-disclosure agreement in exchange for $300,000. So is this guy really on the up and up? Because also the timeline didn't quite match up with the original reporting. Gonzalez also tells you that he ended his affair back in June of 2024. Hadn't had any contact with her since. And then she didn't actually kill herself until September of 2025. So are these two things even related at all? That's hard to tell. But it puts a little gray area in it. Again, I think this guy might be fudging a little bit, to telling a shiny side of the story. But if that other information holds up, okay, that makes me rethink some positions here. Also, he makes a weird accusation toward the end of the interview with Joe Pags about the husband's alleged orientation.
It is pages upon pages, but I will share just this one thing. One of the things that was relayed was, what was Ms. Santos's last words? And they tried to make it all dramatic. In the police report, this is specifically from the police report, the female subject with burn injuries then stated her husband is gay and having an affair with her best friend. I wonder if that had something to do with her tragic passing.
Oh my God.
What the hell is even that?
I don't even know what to think about this story anymore. This is so messy. I just drop out, dude. Just drop out. What's going on? You're having an affair with a lady whose gay husband was cheating on her, and then she killed herself with fire. Dude, politics is already so sloppy and so ugly and so messy. Can we just move on from this guy? Plus, he's going up against a gun tuber that everyone likes, Brandon Herrera. But that's the latest on the very strange Tony Gonzalez case. Blech. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, people are demanding an ICE detention be closed in Texas because of a measles outbreak. It's just any excuse in the world, isn't it? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. WFAA had a report this morning. I thought you'd like to hear this. This isn't anything important. This isn't anything big, but this will kind of give you a nice little, either a chuckle or an eye roll, depending on how irritated you have been by your Thursday thus far. Oh, what are we doing? Oh, yeah. Just we just muted that on accident. Let me play it in the other window then. They want to close an ICE detention facility over in Fort Bliss because there is a measles outbreak. Are you kidding? You people just do any excuse whatsoever. Oh, we're still muted here. Oh, here it is. Hang on. I outsmarted myself, but I know how to work these machines eventually. Ugh. There it is. Unmute, please. Thank you.
Democratic lawmakers are pushing to close an ICE detention center in Texas because of a measles outbreak. That detention center is at Fort Bliss in El Paso. At least 14 cases of measles have been reported, and more than 100 who were exposed to the virus have been isolated. The facility is now closed to visitors and attorneys.
14 people have the measles. Whoop-de-doo. Anybody dead? No? Hey, we better close this facility. Someone's got the measles. You know, you guys, I'm noticing a pattern here that you just don't want these facilities to be open at all. Hey, what if we want to open an ICE detention facility in Hutchins? Oh, geez, we can't do that, Parker. I don't know if the water and sewage hookup, the electricity, I don't know if it could handle the new load. It's already an existing building, you liar. Sounds like you just don't want it to happen. Well, you would be against it if we built one from scratch too? So you're against building one from scratch. You're against converting existing buildings who already have their utility issues well in hand. You're against that. You're against ones that are already open from staying open for the most light of causes. Oh, 14 people got the measles. Well, we better deport them faster before it spreads. Yeah, so some people got an extremely survivable disease. So we better shut it down. It's quite obvious you just don't like ICE detention facilities. Was there a concern about measles in ICE detention facilities when Biden or Obama was president? Or do we just care about these things when it's Trump? It's so weird, the things that they try and focus on as if we don't know what's really going on. You know, it feels very much like the downtown, the city hall debate that's going on in Dallas right now. Like, jeebers, we got so many repairs to make on this building. I guess we're going to have to tear it down and build a new one. No, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, well, we'll tear it down and we'll give this real estate to some other economic development interest. We don't know what it could be, but we know it'd be really good for downtown. It'd revitalize down. What? How do you know it'd revitalize if you don't know what it is already? Oh, you know what it is. You just don't want to tell me because that would give up the grift. You're getting paid behind the scenes to tear down City Hall and build a new stadium. I get it. You get to spend $1 billion worth of contracts. You get to choose who they're handed to. And so there's already the double interest here. And people are falling for it. TV stations, media, Dallas Morning News, they're all falling for it. Never gets old to these people. They just can't. It's Lucy with the football. No, I'll try and kick it this time. Certainly they're not lying again. They can't be lying about that again. No, this time it's for real. This time we're really going to have economic development. This time we're really going to revitalize downtown. It's not revitalized. It was supposed to be revitalized after you redid the West End. Remember when we had West End Mall training? You remember the West End Mall? Where it was like 4 or 5 stories up here in downtown Dallas, and the bottom floor was an arcade. It was pretty cool. It had a Planet Hollywood right next to it. Had the Dick's Last Resort. It had all kinds of fun stuff. Hooters around the corner. Did that revitalize downtown? Oh, no, that fell flat on its face. Well, I thought when we got rid of the old Reunion Arena and we built the AAC, that was going to revitalize things. No, that didn't work either. Well, what about when we made what was it called? Centennial Park, Millennial Park, the one with the big screen next to the AT&T headquarters. We do all this. That'll revitalize downtown. We spend a bunch of money fixing up the Majestic Theater. That'll revitalize downtown. We are going to spend over $1 billion redoing the convention center. That'll revitalize downtown. It just seems to be like an endless black hole of taxpayer dollar scams, this revitalizing downtown. Meanwhile, Fort Worth actually has a pretty nice downtown, and they're not doing all this. They don't have any stadiums or arenas. They don't have one professional sports team in a city of 1.1 million people. In fact, I think it might be the largest city in America that doesn't have a professional sports team. We should look into that. Mr. Fort Worth, Garrett over there, maybe you could figure that out for me. One more thing before we get out of here. Someone wrote a great song about something I say quite a bit in the debate between what's better, capitalism or socialism. I often say no one's ever made a raft of trash to escape capitalism. Someone turned that into a song.
Nobody has ever floated on a raft made of trash to escape capitalism. Nobody's risking their life just to leave a free market ecosystem. Funny how the facts keep ruining the poetry in their vision. Nobody has ever floated on a raft made of trash to escape capitalism.
Man, put that in the Bible. Stick around. Coming up next, the great one, Mark Levin. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP.